I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, but here I am, typing away, hoping that sharing this will help me process everything that's been happening. My name is Jake, and I've been married to Lisa for the past 6 years. I thought we had it all: love, respect, and a pretty solid partnership. But as I sit here, I realize just how wrong I was. Let me give you a little backstory. Around a year ago, I made a commitment to get healthy and lost about 100 pounds, which was no small feat. I was proud of myself and thought that my transformation would positively impact our relationship. It did at first. I was finally getting the attention I had craved, not just from Lisa but from everyone. I started going to the gym more, and that's where I met Derek, my gym buddy. He was instrumental in my weight loss journey, always pushing me to go that extra mile. I was grateful to him for all the support he provided, but things started to change. At first, I chalked it up to Lisa getting used to my new physique and maybe feeling a little insecure about the changes. In my appearance, she became distant. Her affection dwindled and the little things that used to make our relationship special began to fade. I thought it was just a phase. I would reassure myself, it's just a rough patch, we'll get through it. But deep down, I sensed something was off. The first real sign I noticed was when Lisa started coming home late from work. She would say she was busy with clients and had to take on extra responsibilities. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But there were those nights when I would wait up for her, and she wouldn't come home until the early hours of the morning. I tried to bring it up, but she would get defensive and snap at me, insisting I was being paranoid. That hurt, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe I was just being too needy. Things took a turn one night when I realized I had left my keys at the gym after a late workout. It was a Sunday, and I had planned to go in early the next day. I drove back to the gym, grumbling about my forgetfulness. The parking lot was dim, and the building was mostly dark except for a faint light coming from the sauna area. I chuckled to myself, thinking about how I was probably going to walk in on Derek and his girlfriend who often hung out there. But as I approached the sauna, I noticed the door was slightly ajar, and the sound of voices drifted out. Curiosity got the better of me, and I pushed the door open just a crack to see. My world shattered in an instant. There they were, Lisa and Derek, tangled up together on the bench, completely oblivious to the world outside. It took me a moment to register what I was seeing. My heart raced and my gut twisted in a way I had never experienced before. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. The reality of the betrayal hit me like a freight train. This was not just infidelity. This was someone I considered a friend, someone I trusted. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. I wanted to scream, to confront them right then and there, but I froze instead, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, sadness, disbelief. They all collided within me, leaving me paralyzed. After what felt like an eternity, I backed away slowly, trying to maintain my composure. I couldn't face them at that moment. I needed to gather my thoughts and come up with a plan. I felt like a fool for not seeing the signs earlier, for trusting both of them. I drove home in silence, replaying the scene in my mind, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The moment I walked through the door, I was overwhelmed by a mix of anger and heartbreak. How could she do this to me? I felt like a puppet with its strings cut, left to fall as I tried to navigate this unimaginable situation. I needed to confront Lisa, but I also needed to think about my next steps. I couldn't let this pass without addressing it. The next few hours were a blur. I paced around the house, my mind racing. I couldn't sit still. The adrenaline of the discovery coursed through my veins. I was angry, hurt, and lost all at once. I wanted to confront Lisa right away, to make her confess, to see the look on her face when she realized I knew. But I also knew that I needed to choose my words carefully. I couldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me fall apart. I needed to present a calm front, as hard as that was. Finally, around midnight, I heard the familiar sound of the front door opening. Lisa stepped inside, her face lighting up when she saw me. For a split second, I thought she might say something about being late, but instead she flashed that same smile that had melted my heart years ago. It felt like a dagger in my chest. "Hey, babe. Sorry I'm so late. Work was crazy," she said, her tone light and carefree. Her hair was still damp from the shower and she wore those tight yoga pants I used to love. It made me sick to my stomach thinking about what had just happened. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me and I stood there, my arms crossed, trying to appear unfazed. "Lisa, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but low. I could see the smile fade from her face, replaced by a look of uncertainty. She must have sensed the shift in my demeanor. Okay, what's up?" she replied, her brow furrowed. I could tell she was trying to gauge how serious I was. I took a deep breath, channeling all the anger and hurt into my next words. "I know about you and Derek." The words hung in the air, thick and heavy. Her reaction was instant. The color drained from her face, and for a moment I thought she might faint. "What, Jake, what are you talking about?" she stammered, clearly taken aback. I watched as she fumbled for an explanation. "You must have misunderstood something. I mean, yeah, he's my friend, but there's nothing going on." I felt the heat rise in me. "Nothing going on? I saw you in the sauna together. You two were clearly more than just friends," I shot back, my voice rising involuntarily. The hurt was bubbling to the surface, and I struggled to keep my composure. She took a step back, her expression shifting from confusion to defiance. "Oh, come on, Jake. You must be exaggerating. What did you see? You've always been so insecure about me and other guys, and now you're just making a big deal out of." "Nothing." The audacity of her response stung like a slap in the face. "You're calling me insecure. You were wrapped around him like a damn vine," I shouted, my patience wearing thin. "You don't even realize how much you've hurt me." Lisa rolled her eyes, trying to shift the blame. "You're just overreacting because you're stressed about work. You've changed so much since you lost weight, and I'm trying to adjust to this new you," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. The way she spoke made me feel like a fool for trying to communicate. It was infuriating. I was the one who had to adjust to this new reality, not her. "You don't get to turn this around on me, Lisa. I've been nothing but supportive of your career. I've worked hard to make this marriage work, and this is how you repay me." She crossed her arms defensively, her posture rigid. "Maybe if you hadn't changed so much, I wouldn't have felt so lonely," she shot back, her words laced with venom. "Lonely." I felt my heart break a little more at her accusation. I had poured everything into our relationship, into losing that weight, thinking it would improve our lives. But here she was, throwing it all back at me like it was my fault. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to step back and think clearly. "You know what? I deserve better than this," I said, my voice quieter now, though the anger still simmered beneath the surface. I was torn between wanting to scream and wanting to cry. "I need some time to think about what I want." Lisa's face twisted in frustration. "You can't just walk away from this. We can work on it. I didn't mean to hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt me," I repeated incredulously. "You're sleeping with my friend and expect me to just brush it off. You need to take responsibility for what you've done." As I turned to walk away, she called after me, but I couldn't bear to hear her excuses anymore. I needed to get some space and figure out my next step. I felt like I was walking through a fog. Everything was unclear, but I knew one thing. This was just the beginning of a long, painful journey. The emotional impact was overwhelming, and I knew I had to process it all. The next few days were a haze of confusion and heartache. I went through the motions of daily life, but my mind was elsewhere, constantly replaying that moment in the sauna, the betrayal etched into my memory. I kept asking myself how I'd let it get this far, how I hadn't noticed the signs earlier. The reality of Lisa's infidelity was like a weight strapped to my chest, heavy and suffocating. I avoided her as much as possible. Every time I saw her, I felt that familiar mix of anger and sorrow. She tried to talk to me, to apologize, but I wasn't ready to hear her excuses. I needed time to think, to process what was happening. I stayed up late, scrolling through my phone, looking for advice and stories from others who had been through similar situations. I wanted to convince myself I wasn't alone, that others had survived this kind of heartbreak. One evening, I decided to reach out to Derek, my gym buddy, the guy who had helped me on my weight loss journey. I was still reeling from the revelation, but I needed to confront him. If anyone deserved my anger, it was him. I texted him to meet up at a bar nearby. I needed answers. When I arrived, I found Derek sitting at the bar, his muscular frame relaxed as he sipped a beer. He looked up and flashed a grin, but it faded the moment he saw my expression. "Jake, what's up, man?" he asked, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. "We need to talk," I said, my voice low and steady. He raised an eyebrow, the playful demeanor replaced with concern. "Sure, what's going on?" he asked, leaning forward. I could see the confusion in his eyes, and part of me wanted to soften the blow, but I couldn't. I wasn't here to sugarcoat anything. "I know about you and Lisa," I said flatly, watching as his face paled. He opened his mouth to respond, but I cut him off before he could utter a word. "Don't even try to deny it. I saw you two together. In the sauna." For a moment, silence hung between us like a thick fog. Derek's expression morphed from shock to guilt. "Jake, save it," I interrupted, my anger boiling over. "You've been my friend, my support, and this is how you repay me, by sleeping with my wife." The betrayal felt like a punch to the gut, and the pain surged through me again. "Look, I didn't mean for it to happen," he stammered, raising his hands defensively. It just happened one night. We were talking, and one thing led to another. I never wanted to hurt you. Never wanted to hurt me." I scoffed, feeling my chest tighten with rage. "You knew she was my wife. You knew what you were doing." Derek looked down, shame written all over his face. "I'm really sorry, man. I messed up big time. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Can we find a way to move past this?" "Move past this?" I echoed incredulously. "You think I can just forget that you took advantage of my trust, that you betrayed me and my marriage? I really regret it, Jake." "I do," he pleaded, his voice filled with desperation. "I thought it was just a fling, but it's not like that. She's great, man. I didn't want to hurt you. I shouldn't have." "Shouldn't have what?" I snapped, my voice rising. "Shouldn't have slept with my wife, shouldn't have betrayed our friendship. There's no excuse for this, Derek." He swallowed hard, his expression shifting to one of remorse. I know I messed up, but can't we just chalk it up to a mistake? I'll tell her to end it. I'll step back. You're my friend, Jake. I don't want to lose you." Hearing him refer to our friendship felt like a betrayal all over again. I shook my head, feeling the anger bubble up once more. "You've already lost me, Derek. I can't trust you anymore. You've shown me who you really are." I stood up from the bar, leaving him behind as a mix of anger and sadness washed over me. The confrontation had left me feeling drained, but I also felt a sense of clarity. I couldn't keep living in this cycle of hurt and betrayal. I needed to focus on myself, to figure out what I wanted moving forward. When I got home, Lisa was still awake, sitting in the living room with a glass of wine in hand. She looked up as I entered, her expression shifting to one of concern. "Jake, where were you? I've been trying to reach you." "I don't want to talk right now," I said coldly, walking past her. "Please, can we at least discuss what happened?" she pleaded. I turned to face her, my heart pounding. "What's there to discuss, Lisa? You made your choice. You decided to sleep with my friend. You don't get to dictate the terms of this conversation." Her face twisted with frustration. "I didn't expect this would happen. You have to believe me. I love you, Jake. Do you?" I shot back, unable to contain my anger, because it sure didn't look like love when you were in that sauna. You had every opportunity to stop, but you didn't. Her eyes glistened with tears, and I could see the weight of guilt pressing down on her. "I'm so sorry. I messed up. I thought we could work through this. I thought you'd understand." "Understand?" I repeated, my voice rising again. "How can I understand betrayal? You threw everything we had away for a fling. You don't even see how deeply you've hurt me." I felt my chest tighten again, the emotions swirling inside me like a storm. I didn't know how I was going to move forward, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't stay in this cycle of pain. I needed to take control of my life and decide what I truly wanted. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to find any semblance of peace. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts: rage, betrayal, confusion, and that gnawing sense of loss. I felt like I was trapped in a waking nightmare, and no matter how hard I tried to shake it off, I couldn't escape the reality of what was happening. The next day, everything felt different. The house felt emptier, quieter. I moved through my routine like a ghost, going through the motions but not really being present. Work was a distraction, but I found it hard to concentrate. My coworkers noticed something was off. I could see it in their glances. They didn't know the turmoil inside me, and I wasn't ready to share it. I spent my lunch break at the gym trying to drown out my feelings with exercise. It had always been a safe space for me, a place where I could push my limits and find some solace. As I worked out, I thought about how much I had changed over the past year, how I had transformed both physically and mentally. But now, with the betrayal looming over me, it felt like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. I decided to reach out to a therapist. I knew I needed someone to help me navigate the emotional chaos. After a few sessions, I began to unravel the knots of my feelings. I talked about the anger I felt towards Lisa, the betrayal from Derek, and my own sense of loss. I realized I had to confront my feelings instead of letting them fester. It was important to acknowledge my pain and not dismiss it as something that would just go away. During one session, I found myself grappling with the question of whether I wanted to try to salvage my marriage or let it go. My therapist encouraged me to think about what I truly wanted and needed. Sometimes, she said softly, the hardest decision is the right one. You deserve to be with someone who respects you. I thought about that a lot. I began to visualize my life without Lisa. It was scary, but it also felt like a weight was being lifted. I didn't want to live in a cycle of distrust and pain. I wanted to feel loved, cherished, and respected. I realized that I couldn't keep holding onto the idea of what our marriage once was when it had been tainted by betrayal. Around this time, Lisa tried repeatedly to reach me. She would text, call, and even leave notes around the house, pleading for a second chance. Each time I felt a mix of anger and pity. The woman I thought I knew was slipping away, and I wasn't sure who this new version of her was. One evening, I finally agreed to sit down with her. We needed to have a serious conversation. She looked worn out, her eyes red from crying. It was painful to see her in this state, but I knew it was necessary. I had to lay everything out on the table. "Jake, I'm so sorry for what I did," she began, her voice trembling. "I know I've hurt you and I can't take it back, but I want to make it right. I love you. Do you really?" I couldn't help but ask, my voice steady but filled with hurt. "Because love doesn't betray the one it's supposed to protect. You had my trust and you threw it away for a moment of weakness. I know I messed up. I didn't think it would lead to this. I felt so lost and I thought being with Derek would make me feel better. But it didn't. I want to work on us, I promise." "Work on what?" I shot back, feeling the anger bubble to the surface again. "You've already made your choice. You decided to have sex with someone else. You didn't think about our marriage. You didn't think about me." Tears streamed down her face, and for a moment I felt a pang of sympathy, but I quickly pushed it aside. "You need to understand that I can't just forgive and forget. This isn't something you can simply fix with apologies. I need to think about what I want, and right now I'm not sure that's you. But I love you, Jake. We can make it through this. I promise I'll do whatever it takes," she pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice. "Love doesn't look like this, Lisa," I said, my voice firm. "I need time to think. If you truly love me, you'll give me that space." With that, I stood up and walked away. It felt like a weight had been lifted, but I also felt a deep sense of sadness. I had spent years building a life with this woman, and now it was crumbling before my eyes. In the days that followed, I dove deeper into my personal journey. I continued my therapy sessions, focused on my workouts, and spent time with friends who supported me. I realized that I had to find joy in life again, regardless of what happened with Lisa. I started to consider what a life without her might look like. I had dinner with my parents one night, and they could see the change in me. They asked how I was doing, and for the first time in weeks I felt like I could be honest. I shared the painful truth about my marriage, and my mom listened with compassion, her eyes filled with understanding. "You deserve to be happy, Jake," she said softly. "Whatever decision you make, we're here for you." Their support was a balm to my wounded heart. I realized I had a network of people who cared about me, and that made me feel less alone. Through all the pain, I started to see glimpses of hope again. I was reclaiming my life, redefining what happiness looked like for me. As I moved forward, I knew that the decision about my marriage was looming on the horizon. I needed to find the courage to face it head-on, whatever that might entail. I was done living in the shadows of betrayal. It was time to take control of my life and my future. As the days turned into weeks, I began to find a rhythm in my life that didn't revolve around the chaos of my marriage. I focused on my workouts, sought out new hobbies, and leaned on my friends for support. It felt liberating to reclaim my time and energy. I started to enjoy going out with my buddies, laughing and letting loose. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of freedom, a lightness I hadn't felt since all the turmoil began. However, Lisa still lingered in the background. She would leave me messages, sometimes tearful apologies, other times angry accusations, insisting that I was being unfair. I didn't respond to her. I felt it was essential to maintain my distance. I needed to be clear-headed, and engaging with her emotionally would only muddy the waters further. One night after a particularly grueling workout, I was sitting at home when I received a text from Lisa. It was late and I could tell she was feeling vulnerable. "Can we talk, please?" I hesitated, feeling the familiar surge of anger and sadness rise within me, but I realized that I couldn't avoid this conversation forever. I needed to confront the reality of our situation and find closure. I texted her back, "Okay, tomorrow evening." As I prepared for the meeting, I felt a mix of apprehension and resolve. I knew I needed to lay everything out on the table. This wasn't just about me and my feelings. It was about our relationship, the trust that had been shattered, and whether anything could be salvaged. The next evening, Lisa arrived at the house looking worn down. Her eyes were puffy from crying and she seemed almost fragile. It was hard to reconcile this version of her with the one I had seen in the sauna, laughing and carefree with Derek. But I reminded myself that I needed to be strong. "Thanks for coming," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Thank you for agreeing to talk," she replied, her voice shaky. She sat down on the edge of the couch, her posture tense. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." "Me too," I responded, crossing my arms defensively. "And I need to be honest with you, Lisa. I'm not sure if I can ever trust you again." Tears brimmed in her eyes as she nodded. "I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I've been reflecting on everything and I realize how selfish I was. I let my insecurities and loneliness dictate my actions and I hurt you in the process." It was wrong. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "You have to understand that this isn't just about a mistake, Lisa. It's about the trust that was broken. You chose to have sex with Derek. You made a conscious decision to betray me, and that's not something I can easily get past." "I know," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm not trying to give excuses for my behavior. I just want a chance to explain myself. I felt like I was losing you after your weight loss. I didn't know how to cope and I didn't reach out to you when I should have. Instead, I sought comfort in the wrong place." It was hard to listen to her, almost painful, but I also felt a flicker of sympathy. "I've heard your explanations over and over, Lisa. I know what you're saying, but it doesn't change what happened. I need to know whether you're taking full responsibility for your actions." "I am," she insisted, her voice rising with desperation. "I never meant to hurt you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I want to fight for our marriage if you'll let me." I felt a surge of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. I thought about everything we had built together, the laughter, the shared dreams, the love we once had. But could I truly go back to that? I needed to think about what was best for me. "I don't know, Lisa," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I really don't. Part of me wants to believe that we can work through this, but another part of me is terrified of being hurt again. I can't go back to feeling that way." She leaned forward, her eyes pleading. "I'll do anything, Jake. I'll go to therapy, we can go together. I'll be honest with you about everything. I need you to trust me again. I need you to give me a chance." The desperation in her voice tugged at my heart, but I had to be realistic. "Trust is earned, not given," I replied firmly. "You've broken that trust in a way that's hard to come back from. I need to know that I can rely on you, and right now, I don't feel that way." I could see the hurt in her eyes deepening. "I know I've messed up, but I'm willing to put in the work, Jake. I love you. I don't want to lose you." Her words echoed in my mind as I tried to process everything. Love was one thing, but trust was another. Did I want to fight to rebuild what we had, or was it time to let go? "I need more time to think about this," I finally said, my voice low. "I can't make a decision tonight. I need to figure out what I truly want." Lisa nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with tears. "I understand. Just know that I'm here and I'm willing to fight for you." As she left that night, a wave of sadness washed over me. The conversation had been difficult, but it was necessary. I knew I had a decision to make, one that would change the course of my life. I felt like I was standing at a crossroads, and I needed to choose the path that would lead me to healing and happiness. The uncertainty hung in the air, but I found some comfort in knowing that I was taking control of my own life. I would decide whether to rebuild or to walk away. Whatever path I chose, I wanted to ensure it was one that honored my worth and my journey. I was ready to embrace whatever came next. The days following my conversation with Lisa were filled with a heavy silence. I kept going through the motions of my routine, but my mind was occupied with thoughts about our relationship. I found myself oscillating between anger and nostalgia, remembering the better times and wrestling with the hurt that had now taken root in our marriage. I also continued my sessions with my therapist, delving deeper into my feelings. She encouraged me to reflect on what I truly valued and what I wanted moving forward. You deserve a partner who respects you and supports you, she reminded me. Never forget that you have the power to choose what's best for you. I began to visualize my life beyond the pain, contemplating what happiness would look like for me. I spent time with friends, laughed over beers, and even took up some new hobbies, like cooking and painting. I was rediscovering parts of myself that I had neglected, and it felt good. I realized I had the power to build a life that didn't revolve around the hurt Lisa had caused. After several days of reflection, I finally decided to meet with her again. I felt a sense of clarity washing over me. I had taken the time I needed, and I was ready to confront the reality of our situation. I called her to arrange a meeting, and she agreed to come over that evening. When she arrived, I could sense the nervous energy in the air. She looked hopeful yet apprehensive, and I felt a pang of empathy. I knew this conversation would be difficult for both of us. I took a deep breath as we sat down together. "Jake, I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about," she began, her voice shaky. "I'm willing to do anything to make this right. I love you and I don't want to lose you." I nodded, grateful for her willingness to engage in this conversation. "I know you're sincere, Lisa, but love isn't enough. Trust is equally important, and right now, I don't know if I can trust you again. You made a choice that hurt me deeply." "I understand," she said, her voice breaking, "but I've changed. I've been going to therapy and I'm committed to working on myself. I'm not the same person I was when I made that awful decision." "I can see that you're trying," I replied cautiously, "but we can't just brush this aside. I need to protect myself too. I can't go back into a relationship where I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, waiting for the next betrayal. I promise you, I will be honest from now on. I'll do whatever it takes to regain your trust," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I just need you to give me a chance." I could feel my heart breaking for her, but I also felt a sense of resolve. "Lisa, I've thought long and hard about this. As much as it pains me to say it, I don't think we can move forward together. Trust is foundational, and I can't see a way to rebuild what we had after everything that's happened." Her eyes widened in shock, and I could see the realization hit her. "Jake, please don't say that. We can fix this. We can work through our issues together." I shook my head, feeling both sadness and relief at having finally expressed my truth. "I need to focus on healing and finding happiness again. I can't keep going back and forth. It's not good for either of us. I need to let go." She let out a choked sob, and in that moment I felt like I was breaking apart too. But I knew it was the right decision. We had shared many good memories, but the betrayal loomed so large that it overshadowed them all. Walking away was painful, but I had to prioritize my own mental and emotional health. "I'm so sorry, Jake," she said between sobs. "I never wanted to hurt you. I'll always care about you." "I know," I said softly, my voice filled with compassion. "And I'll always care about you too, but we both need to heal. We can't do that together." After she left, I felt an overwhelming wave of emotions crash over me. I had made the choice that I believed was right, but it didn't make it any easier. I allowed myself to grieve the relationship I had lost, the love, the partnership, the dreams we once shared. It was a painful process, but I knew it was necessary for my growth. In the weeks that followed, I continued to focus on myself. I explored new activities, reconnected with old friends, and continued my therapy. I found solace in the support of those around me. Slowly, I began to rediscover joy in life and the strength within myself. I was learning to embrace my independence and redefine what happiness meant to me. Over time, I came to realize that it was okay to feel pain and heartbreak, but I also had the power to mold my future. I was no longer defined by the betrayal I had suffered. Instead, I was forging my own path. Through this journey, I learned valuable lessons about trust, love, and the importance of self-respect. I knew that I would emerge from this stronger, wiser, and more resilient. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, armed with the knowledge that I could create a life filled with authenticity and joy, one that was entirely my own.